All right, nothing like Filipino rum. Hey guys, how's it going? Nice to have you with us. Welcome on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter Live. MJ here. I'm out in the park, and I was out here. I think it was last week, and it was a lot darker because there are some lights, and you can see like street light type lights here. There's sodium vapor, but there's always been a big bunch of vines and hanging leaves and branches and things, and we just had a typhoon, and it's blown them all down. Let me show you, because before, hey, how you doing? That must be George. How's it going? Good to have you with us. Before, right? Yeah, this was all full of leaves, and now the leaves are on the ground or they're blown away, and you can see the two big lights there. But I have my lantern with me tonight, my candle lantern, so I just decided Candlelight chat with you guys, and so that's my YouTube thumbnail. And by the way, this is from IKEA. I love this. Just put a tea candle in it, and actually that works really nice in the tent because it has vent holes in the top, so it can be used for a heater. Yeah, Dave, fist bump to you too. Fist bump to you too, George. I think I forgot to give you a fist bump. So, yeah, windy day, not much rain. Here in the western part of Taiwan, on the west coast, we didn't get it very badly. It wasn't that bad. But east coast, and particularly the southeast, about 30,000 people lost power. It disrupted trains. They stopped train service on Saturday, I believe about 5:30 p.m. and didn't resume until late Sunday. And so, it went through. It really wasn't that big of a deal. What had happened was, I'll show you, this was Wendy's prediction, and it actually was very close to reality. Wendy's prediction showed that about 10 a.m. Sunday, the center of the typhoon, the eye, would be basically right off of where it says Hualien. In reality, it was a little bit north of that, so it was actually faster than we thought. The typhoon gained speed. It lost a little bit of power. And the earlier predictions were that it would hit the island itself, but it didn't. It missed us. And as a result, we had almost, here it's like, we didn't even get any wind. It's north of Taiwan right now. It's still relatively close. It's still relatively powerful, but we've got nothing here, so. And of course, on this side of the island, we are protected by our central mountain range. But let me tell you what the typhoon did do, which is really cool. Now, many of you may not know this. I'm going to open some of my garlic peanuts, by the way. Taiwan government has a number of really cool webcams on YouTube. If you just search on like Taoyuan, Taoyuan, and tourist, and you'll find webcams. Now let me show you something. This is a webcam from the Yong'an fish market. Jan, how are you? See you. Welcome from LA. Look at this. This is the fish market. Down below is the jetty. This was from a live cam. This is just a screen capture that I took today from this live cam. And that's what the sunset looked like today because of the typhoon. That is just, it's amazing. This is over an area in Taidong called the Three Immortals. Yeah, that's right, yep. And look at this. This is on the East Coast. Look at that. just off a webcam. Now, this is another really cool webcam. Sorry, I need to. There we go. Taipei 101 was actually in the clouds. Look at that. It is an awesome view. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Go-Go Song is my friend George. He's a rep for JTS. JTS has sponsored many of my shows by allowing me to use their fantastic podcaster mic. I keep telling George, you're not getting it back, you're not getting it back. But of course, at some point I have to give it back to him. He's just been very kind about letting me use it. But George, I've upgraded my studio and the new monitors and the new Dante audio system, audio network, and the new PC. Working out fantastic. Now, there's another scene that I want to show you. This is in Hualien, and this is actually near my friend Andreas. Because when I saw this, when I went to visit, Andreas, we drove right past this. It's a beautiful field of sunflowers, and this is how it looked this evening on the webcam. I mean, look at that. Well, thanks, George. You know, I couldn't be happier with my JTS mic. You know, the tube mic and also the headphones. So I look forward to some collaboration in the future. But look at that beautiful mountain, and the thing is the webcam moves around. It's motorized. It's got a, you know, programmable path. And this is just, if you really want to get a look at Taiwan, I'll tell you what I'll do. Tomorrow, if you go to live streaming, it's over here, live streaming technology. What site is it? Yeah, live streaming.technology. You'll find a post with this live stream in it, and I'll go ahead and on that post, I will put links to all these cameras. If you really want to see what the real time one looks like, then you can see it. Now this is cool because this is funny. There's tables there, and you can just sit there and relax. There's a family there. Now I'm going to see if I can find this. Hang on a second. I'm trying to see which one it is. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you this in a second. So let me take this one off. This family was actually, this is just so Taiwanese. They were in the act of using a selfie stick and taking a selfie with all these beautiful flowers. And the webcam, you know, panned over and caught them, so that was so funny. But so once again, that's the Yong'an, facing west over the Taiwan Strait. And this is in Taidong. Dong means east in Chinese. Facing the east, the Pacific. And this is the southern part of Taiwan. And that's what we had today. So what do we do when it's a typhoon day in Taiwan? Traditionally, for years, we've always had a typhoon party over here at Xiaohui's, but Xiaohui is long gone. She's actually in Thailand, in the far north, right by Myanmar. Her place is gone, and the only place that even comes close to it is Wenwen's, but Wenwen's is, well, right now we can't really have that kind of a gathering. So we just go out to eat. Went to the mall. We have a lot of Japanese style food in Taiwan. This is a Japanese set meal with some pan fried, I guess you would call it like a flat iron steak. Now something that you might find interesting is if you look at the the frying pan, you know, with the steak, right? And you look in the center of it, there's a white dish, and that has deep fried slices of garlic. So they're like garlic chips. And there's a piece of lime next to it. And if you look just to the right and slightly up of that little white plate with garlic chips, you will see wasabi. So yeah, it was amazing. So, you know, Dave did that live stream a couple of days ago showing you wasabi, and I know many people were commenting on the, how should I say this, how complicated, you know, it was, how they had to do the irrigation, and you know, and the way they planted everything in rows, and they covered it with a superstructure and all that stuff. Well, it's because it's a very important crop. So much so that, I mean, they put it in a steak dish. That's how important wasabi is in Japanese cuisine. It's not just for sushi. I think some people don't really realize that. But anyway, here's a close-up of the steak. And it was great. What's really interesting, and I neglected to show that, over here, that little kind of a dark orange sauce next to the rice, that is curry. So this one dish was like an assault on your senses. Sprinkle a little bit of salt on the steak. I didn't use the lime. Could if you wanted to. But with the wasabi and the curry flavor, and of course Japanese salad, which is the shredded cabbage, and up in the upper right hand corner is miso soup with seaweed, and it was just off the charts. Very edge of the photo, you can see there's some green tea. There you go. Yeah, well, that makes total sense. Yeah, it makes total sense. It's probably used to pay debts too. So they say some of the best wasabi in the world comes from Taiwan. And I didn't know that. And I didn't know whether to believe it or not. But I did some research, and on Ali Mountain, on Ali-san, they do in fact grow wasabi. And I've heard experts, and even people who are Japanophiles, tell me that the wasabi here in Taiwan is right up there in the, I don't, can't really say it's the best. It's a subjective thing. But they make good wasabi. And I love it. I have wasabi salt. And I love the wasabi in the toothpaste tube, if you know what I mean. Dave knows what I'm talking about. They must have that in the States. See, the problem is I haven't been in the States in so long. When I left the States, there was no bubble tea, there was no almond milk, there was nothing. I would talk about these things and nobody knew what I was talking about. And then one day I was explaining these things and somebody said, "Oh, we have that in America now." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I guess, you know, I guess you would. So you must be able to buy that wasabi in a tube. But that is really convenient because then you just like squeeze a line out of it, you know, onto your plate. And there you go. What's interesting is, oh, this rum is so good. And I wish these guys were my sponsor. These are the best garlic peanuts in Taiwan. These guys right here, they're just incredible. Made in Taiwan. It says right there. That says Taiwan right there. Yeah. So, Taiwan has some fantastic peanut products. They grow peanuts in Taiwan. They're really good. And another country that has fantastic peanut products, and Dave knows this too, is Thailand. I love the Thai salted peanuts. They're really great. So it is relatively strong. Yeah, I mean you can tell it's not subtle. It's not overwhelming because obviously you need to taste the peanuts too. But it's quite strong. I should send you a couple packs of these because I know you love them. Maybe you and I should do, Dave, some more cross-cultural kind of snack food, you know. See, if I sent you a pack of these or a couple packs of these, then we could like do like a, maybe I'm crazy just suggesting haps, but we could do a, you know, a guest kind of, you know, live stream, and we could eat them at the same time. They're quite good. Thing is though, you can't smell it in a shell. I think it's the same way they do brining. What used to freak me out years ago when I would go to some of these bars in the States, and they've got, you know, these peanuts in a shell and they're salted on the inside, you know. You're killing me, man. That is hilarious. As long as it's Uno Flip. Have you guys played Uno Flip? My wife and Phoenix went to the big city mall and they came home and said, he says, Bob, we got this Uno game. I said, really? But this one's Uno Flip. You guys know how to play Uno, I presume. It's an easy, fun card game. But there's a light side and a dark side to the cards. And you play the cards with the light side in towards you. But there is a flip card. And if you flip it, then you flip the discard pile, you flip the draw pile, you flip your cards around, and you start playing the other side. And there are enough flip cards that during any one game, I mean, it can go back and forth multiple times, and it is hilarious. Because, you know, what happens is every time, you know, my wife gets ready to win, she's getting close, then I throw down a flip card. Interesting thing about Uno Flip. So whatever side you are playing, you cannot see your opponent's cards. But you can see what's on the flip side, so you can use that to your advantage. So I think it would, actually. I think it would, because what happens is people sometimes will watch live streams out of frustration. They'll be like, did you see that? He should have done this. Did you see that? I can't believe it. What's he going to do next? Oh, he should have done this. He should have done that. So if you play solitaire and you make all the wrong moves, I think you'll probably have hundreds of thousands of viewers, and you'll have all these comments telling you, oh, you know, at 20 minutes, 27 seconds, you should have played this card or that card, right? So, I know you are. The problem is, I'm being sarcastic too, but it would work. If you can appeal to that, I mean, I sent Dave a YouTube short today about a guy talking about, you know, how these TikTokers are going into stores and doing really stupid stuff. Like this guy took a big bottle, 2-liter bottle of soda, and like shook it and threw it. Of course, it blew up and went like a rocket everywhere. And he's laughing and giggling. I remember a time when you'd get arrested for that. And the guy says, quit doing this stupid stuff, because, you know, these service people that work, you know, they don't make enough money to clean up your stupid TikTok messes. But he pointed out something. I mean, there was a channel called Cake Farts. And he said, people watch that, like a lot of people. So you don't really have to be all that good. But it seems to me that the worse something is, the more views they get. Joey B was showing that. Joey B was talking about, there's a guy that just, he's on TikTok and he's on YouTube, and all he does is make these sped up, you know, hyperlapse videos, and he just goes, and he laughs like an idiot, into the camera. And he's got tens of millions of views. And Joey B's going like, where's the talent in this? Then he shows some like 16-year-old girl that's playing guitar, you know, with two hands, tapping, and not just guitar diarrhea, but I mean, doing classical stuff, really good technique, you know, really well trained. And he goes, it's like 237 views. So I look at my low view count basically as it's inversely proportional, I think, to the intelligence, I guess, if you want to say. I mean, if I really wanted nothing but views, I know exactly how to do it. Go upstairs at Win-Win's and spend all night interviewing Vietnam girls. But like, when it's all done, what have you accomplished? All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got that we can play. Oh, I know what we got. We got this right here.
Hi, this is George from Taiwan, JDS. You're watching the Late Night with MJ Klein.
Yeah, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. That was good. So that was George from JTS. So we're looking forward to doing some collaboration. All right, you know, I have been debating about whether I should do this or not, you know. And Mike's not here tonight. Psoriasis Channel Mike. But Mike's often very complimentary towards me on my perceived wisdom, but you know, my wisdom doesn't come from me. And you guys know that I've been a Bible reader for many years. And you know, when you talk about that, they roll their eyes, you know, this book's outdated, it's full of myth and everything. But it's not at all. There's so many things that are relevant and current. When I read some of the Proverbs and some of the things that Solomon said, I mean, those could be tweets, seriously, and they're pretty accurate. A lot of them seem to be written with the internet in mind. So, what I thought I might do, now here's the thing. I use like, I think 7 or maybe 8 different translations, but when I do Bible reading, myself, I use a modern English version. Something like, well, the Bible in Living English is good. The Byington, the American Standard Version is pretty good. There's a couple these and thous, and I always use a Bible that has the divine name that's been restored. But I was wondering, because there are a couple of really interesting stories. And, for example, everybody knows about Noah. Everybody knows about Jonah. But they don't often know the backstory. The book of Jonah, it's only 4 chapters, and it's one of the most action-packed books. Not just of the Bible, of any book. I mean, it gets right into it right away. There's no fluff. There's no long, flowery introduction. It just starts right out. And there's a lesson to be learned. There's another one too. The story of Naaman. And I don't think many people know the story or know, what the lesson is. And so what I'm wondering is if, because I don't want to put anybody off, but if I were to read one of these stories and, fill in the information that you might not have in certain verses that presuppose that you know what they're talking about, so I could explain these things. But if it wouldn't be like a total, just because it's from the Bible, sometimes you say the Bible, then they plug their ears up. Sometimes when we talk to people, you have to say something like, well, an ancient writer or an ancient book said this, and they more readily listen to it. But it's because, in all honesty, the Bible's been mishandled. The churches of Christendom have done a pretty poor job over history. They've done a good job alienating people. But for those of you who view my late night streams and my talks, and I've been doing this for about 6 years now, if you would like me to, or would tolerate, just to see, I would like to read. Hey, good evening, Matthew. Fist bump to you. How's it going? Doing this at an interesting time. If it wouldn't alienate anyone, and you would actually maybe enjoy hearing me do my usual, oratory type reading on things, I would like to read the story of Naaman from the Byington. That's the Bible in Living English version. It takes a couple of has a couple of liberties, but it's a pretty good translation overall. And it's restored the Hebrew name taken from the Tetragrammaton, that in English is pronounced either Jehovah or Yahweh, so it puts the name of the Hebrew God back into the scriptures. That's really kind of brave of the guy who did the translation. So, anyway, I'm just putting it out there. I actually wanted to start a series called The Wisdom of King Solomon in the Internet Age. Because like I said, some of the Proverbs, some of the stuff that he wrote about was like, it could be a tweet. I mean, you could have an account, you know, King Solomon Speaks on Twitter, and just put those out. It would be pretty amazing. But the story of Naaman is interesting because it's one of the expectations, and how sometimes we have personal expectations of how something should happen, or a certain way things should go, especially if we are important, or if we just think we're important and we're not getting the kind of attention or service that we think. But Naaman was a general in the Syrian army. He was also a member of the king's court. So the king of Syria would have an assembly, and he would be there because he was general. And this guy was tough. He had vanquished many hundreds of thousands of enemies, and he was fearless. This guy was battle hardened. You know, he's a professional soldier. He's a general, and he got leprosy, and that's the problem, because you can't draw your sword and fight leprosy. You can't kill leprosy. You can't just, you know, say that you're gonna launch a battle against leprosy. Now, nowadays, leprosy is completely curable, and it turns out that the vast majority of human beings have a natural immunity to the disease. But back then, the Hebrew word that was translated as leprosy covered a broader range of diseases than a modern term. So we don't know exactly what he had, but it was an incurable skin disease, and it was somewhat debilitating. We know that because he was sick. He was just trying to recover, and he was, you know, laying up in his house. And apparently his wife wouldn't let the kids play with him because they're afraid of being contagious. So the story of Naaman is how he went to seek a cure for his leprosy. And it's a fascinating story about what happened. So, we can maybe schedule that for another time. I mean, an hour later or whatever. So you guys will just have to let me know. And you can tell me in the live comments now. You can tell me privately later, or in the public comments later, whatever you want. That's amazing. I pretty much have lost completely my Twitter audience. And I wonder if you guys who are live streamers have noticed that too. I could always count on Periscope having a pretty respectable number of viewers. But since I got rid of the app and embedded it into Twitter proper, I think it's just, I don't know. Remember how Jeff Goldberg used to say, Periscope is dead. Well, he said that mainly because he knew that Twitter would kill the app and, basically, in many people's opinion, mismanage it. So, what are your thoughts on anything? What are your thoughts on what I was saying earlier about doing some different readings and so forth and Periscope or whatever? What do you think?
Hi everybody, you're watching Late Night with MJ Klein on Taiwan Live TV.
All right, now you guys follow Kenrod, okay? And if you like coffee especially, it's amazing. He does some great content.
Hi, this is Dave in Osaka, live from Greenland, and you're watching Taiwan Live TV with MJ Klein.
Oh, fantastic. And I still love the, what I call the greatest intro, the greatest introduction. Cooperation with Casper, Jevons, and of course Dave. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play that right now. Hey everyone, MJ here. Now, you guys know me. I'm not a big self-promoter. I'm just not good at it. I don't really, it's not my thing. But I always wanted to do like this really big introduction. So let me just try this and see what happens, okay? Get all ready here. Okay, here we go. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest live streamer in the world. Here he is, MJ Klein. Hey everyone, MJ here. I want to thank you so much for...
You think so?
No, I don't think so. I think you're the greatest live streamer in the world, and I'm actually very sorry I said that. Okay, let's try this again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest live streamer in Taiwan. Here he is, MJ Klein. Hey guys, it's MJ. Thank you so much for joining.
MJ? Really? Since when?
Since never, actually. Okay, let's try again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest live streamer from Hsinchu, Taiwan. Here he is, MJ Klein. Hey everyone, it's MJ. Thank you so much for joining.
In your dreams, MJ. In your dreams.
Oh, and my dreams they're shattered. Okay, one more time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the greatest live streamer in Hsinchu County, in Hukou Township, in the Hsinchu Industrial Park, in this particular neighborhood and on this block. Please welcome MJ Klein. All right, fist bump to you, Ken. Yeah, nice to have you with us. Going to work, yeah. Man. Do you guys have 100 employees where you work. I don't believe this stuff is going on in the United States right now. I mean, I'm not going down this rabbit hole. I'm not going to get deep into this. But all I got to say is, this stuff that's going on in the U.S. now makes everything that Alex Jones says sound moderate, plausible. I don't know what to think. I'm just glad that I live where I live. Now you guys know that I took my first dose of the locally produced Medigen vaccine. Yeah. You know, it's not a bad idea. I've heard some people on YouTube openly state there's going to be civil war. I'm like, wow, people are serious, man. This is hardcore stuff. Look. Now, you guys know I don't do politics, right? But I mean, if I see something, well, let me show you what I mean. Let me show you what I mean, because I've got, Prism here, and we can just look at all this stuff. I had no intention of going here, but I did a couple of screen captures because this is what was said. He said we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated co-workers. And yeah, I understand what you mean, Matthew. I didn't understand how a vaccinated person needed to be protected from anybody, because they're telling you to get vaccinated because that is the protection, right? I mean, can you see why I'm confused? But here's what he said right previous to that. He said the COVID vaccines aren't very effective. Really? Wow. But do you see this? He says the COVID vaccines aren't very effective, and we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated co-workers. And so I guess now there's a lot of people that are way smarter than me. But when I read this, I'm thinking, so you're going to protect vaccinated workers who have been vaccinated with a vaccination that doesn't really work that well, according to what you just said. But you're going to protect them by vaccinating the unvaccinated with the same vaccine that doesn't really work that well. So I don't get it. Worse this time. I hate that. I'm really sorry to hear that. Anyway, I gotta wait like 3.5 more weeks. I can get my other shot. But nobody here is mandating anything or forcing anything. But I have to face some simple facts. Myrna, fist bump to you. How you doing? Well, it is confusing because it doesn't make any sense. I'm doing great. How are you, Myrna? I'm just out in the park, and I've got my candle lantern with me today. my little candlelight chat. And I got some Manila rum, you know, and soda water. I'm just eating some garlic peanuts and making a mess here and being a nuisance with all the chewing noises, as usual. Yeah, glad to hear it. Welcome from Texas on Twitch. But there's no mandates here, and I don't know. The Babylon Bee, though, has been having a field day with this. You know, they came out with a meme. Your body, my choice. I was like, I'm gonna spit my beer. If you guys don't follow the Babylon Bee, well, it's a satirical organization. They do comedy, but they do current events comedy, and they say things that you're thinking. Okay, but yes, it is confusing, Ken, and I've often said that's like asking me to take fire insurance out on my neighbor's house, which I'm not going to do. If my house catches fire, I have insurance on my house. But there's a limited amount of liability for what happens if it jumps somewhere else. And my neighbor has the option of insuring himself. You know, I had a talk about the flu with my doctor. This is a doctor, by the way, that figured out that I was a phenylketonuria and had an allergy to NutraSweet. This guy is amazing. But I talked to him about, you know, transmissibility and contagiousness and contagions and with flu. And I said sometimes when I feel like in flu season, I don't want to go out of the house because I feel bad if I make somebody else sick. And he basically just said that there isn't any way to know, and there isn't any effective known way to prevent these things. They're so prolific. He says all you can do is just protect yourself and don't do something that's obviously bad, like purposely coughing in somebody's face or something like that. But even here in Taiwan, where we've had low transmissibility, there was a woman who's a preschool teacher, and she's been having a really hard time because they had a cluster in the preschool, and she had a really, really hard time because hundreds of parents were blaming her, and like literally online shaming her and blaming her for infecting their kids. Turns out it wasn't her. And nobody apologized, of course. It's somebody else. So what can you do? See, in Asia, we've always worn masks. And we have these, straps and all this stuff to make it convenient. But even in 2018, when I went back to the States, it's not right to do to her. It's not. And even if she was the one, I mean, that's like being mad at a stray dog for being a stray. Well, they don't want to be a stray, and they would be perfectly happy if you take them into their home. That woman didn't want to be a carrier and didn't purposely infect anyone, but it turned out she didn't. But there's the stigma, and that's the problem. It's a big problem. And what I see going on in the States is trying to stigmatize the unvaccinated and trying to make a two-tier system. But what I recognize is I got this Medigen vaccine, and it's a homegrown Taiwanese vaccine. It's a recombinant spike protein subunit technology, which is not, what some of the other ones are based on. It's just a traditional vaccine, and it's apparently very effective. It's had very low side effects. The only side effect I really had was I had a headache a little bit, and I've been experiencing some fatigue, but nothing out of the ordinary. I just got a little extra sleep and I'm fine. But that vaccine may not be recognized by other countries, so I may not be able to travel because of that. But I'm not willing to get some specific vaccine that I don't want just for the privilege of traveling. So I'm perfectly content. Taiwan has everything. You wouldn't believe, the scenic beauty here and the diversity, the food. I mean, even the diversity of people. There are 13 official, 23 unofficial tribes of indigenous people here. It is so amazing and so interesting. I mean, I guess I wouldn't care. Sure do miss Thailand though, and Laos. But I don't think Thailand and Laos would restrict travel based on a Taiwanese vaccine. I think it would be Western countries under the influence of, like heavy influence of the American FDA. So yeah, it remains to be seen. But Mariner, you're so right. That wasn't right to do it to her. But here's the thing. I don't know what motivates people to be so vicious about certain things and then later just refuse to apologize when it turns out they're wrong. That I don't get. People are entitled to their opinion and all that, but some people are unreasonably withheld about their opinion. But then they don't go back later and say, oh, well, whoopsie, I made a mistake. And we have to be careful about that. There's so many instances of that on social media where people come on really, really strong about something. Turns out not to be true, or it turns out to be misunderstood. And they act like, well, you deserve it anyway, because I'm sure there's something else that you did was just as bad. My goodness. Some vindictive people out there, So, I think eventually this cancel culture kind of thing is going to hit all of us. Even me. Somebody's going to look at something I wrote in 2008, 2009 or something on my blog, and they're going to take offense. And if you think that I care, then you would be mistaken. Because if, say if the cancel culture went after my Twitter account, all that means is I'm not going to be bothered by notifications from you anymore. Truth is, I got all those notifications turned off. It doesn't matter what anybody does to me on Twitter. They retweet, they comment, they like, they do whatever. I have no idea until I decide that I'm gonna log in and take a look. Oh, that's interesting. So we got some of those LEDs, you know, that look like raindrops. Now tell the truth, how many of you people watching have been woken up in the middle of the night by some kind of tweet or something, and it wakes you up and you're compelled to just go and answer it right away? Be honest, how many? There's a meme. It is so true. It's a really old meme. But there's a wife standing, you know, she's obviously got, you know, she's ready for bed, got her PJs on, and she's calling her husband, you know, it's time to go to sleep. And he's on the PC and he's typing madly. And he's like, I'll be there in just a second, honey. He goes, somebody on the internet is wrong. Wow. I have a unique perspective on the internet too, because back in the days of the dial-up modem, you know, I had a PPP internet connection in 1995. Not many people go that far back. By 1998, I had ISDN. I thought we were kicking butt. That's double 52K line, so it's 128K. And comes with two phone numbers. So when you're on the phone, it throttles back to 52K, and 56. 256 lines. When we were doing the talk network in the early 90s, of course nowadays it's easy, everybody just uses the internet. Back then we'd have switched 56 line. One of our talk show hosts was Stan Major, and he was in Florida, I forget what city. Another one was Jack Anderson, the famous investigative reporter. And all these guys had 56K internet lines and doing audio. That's pretty cool. But I remember after the civilian internet became popular, a lot of radio stations started streaming their audio from the transmitter, from the studio to the transmitter on the internet. And you only need like CD quality, so 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz audio is perfect for FM radio. And I remember talking to Dana Popolo, and he's like, who knew we could do that, and it would be reliable and very quick. So that's pretty amazing, actually. So now nobody really does, unless these transmitter sites are too remote and there's no internet connection. But nobody's really doing like microwave, STLs they call them, studio transmitter links. So you have to have a dish on the side of the tower pointed in the direction of the transmitter, and they would have a separate one-way radio transmitter that would send the signal from the radio station studio to the transmitter to put it on the air. Everybody's just using the internet now. It's amazing. Oh, activity over here. There's a couple of dormitories over here for some foreign workers, some Filipino factory workers, and most of them, like That's a dorm that's only for the women. There's another dorm down the road that's for men. But the women walk by my house every morning, and they come back every evening. It must be like, altogether, probably over 100. Pretty interesting. So, are we still on the air? Hello? You guys must be listening. I have this problem sometimes. I'll go on and nobody will say anything because they're all listening. Feel free to interrupt me anytime you want. All right, so let me know if you want me to do, I don't know if you want to call it dramatic. Okay, thank you. Let me know, I don't know if you want to call it a dramatic, but let me know if you want me to do like a Bible reading, like a story, you know, to tell you the backstory and tell you about the lesson being learned and explain things as we go along, you know, in modern English, because there are two stories I really want to tell. Naaman and Jonah. The story of Jonah is absolutely amazing. And there's a lot of lessons we learn there. But Naaman is one that most people don't know about. So, in the comments later, you know, now or later, whatever, let me know if you'd like me to do some of those kinds of readings, if you might find it interesting. In modern English, not thee, thou, thine, and therefore, because the only one of those I understand is therefore. So Matthew, how is this little treasure doing? This is Matthew's new son, Grayson. And we're going to have Grayson just cover up the Taiwan Live TV logo because it doesn't matter. How's this little guy doing? I mean, seriously. Look at that. He looks smart. He's there, man. He's in there. I bet he notices everything, huh? Fantastic. What a blessing. I know I really appreciate my daughter. You know, she's really a gift. Just started eating baby food at school. He's on, just getting on solid food. How's your wife doing? She must be pretty exhausted, huh? You know, us men, we got it easy comparatively. And the tendency for us guys is to think that, okay, you know, our wives, we watched them struggle through labor and now it's all over. But no, their body manufactures the food. I mean, that's amazing. So yeah. Ongoing process. Have you discovered flavors that he likes yet? I was really surprised at Phoenix because Phoenix right away loved garlic. You know, I mean, she couldn't talk, but she would like garlic. And My sister, her husband, my brother-in-law, used to get the biggest kick out of giving his grandkids a slice of lemon and watching their face. And right. Well, I gave Phoenix a slice of lime because that's what we use here for lemon, and she loved it. She put it in her mouth, wouldn't take it out. Just, you know, extracted all the juice out of it and wanted another one. Amazing. So, one of the hard barriers to get kids to cross, though, is the hot pepper one, right? But we've been in Thailand, my wife and I, and we've seen mothers with really, you know, like 1-year-old, small 1-year-old to 2-year-old babies, giving them peppers, and the babies eating it like they're totally cool with it. You know, it's pretty amazing. So I guess if you start them out early. So, but Phoenix now has been experimenting. So yeah. But he likes it, right? I mean, he likes it now, right? That's so cool. So Phoenix likes wasabi. She likes sushi. She eats all kinds of stuff. I keep telling her, if we go back and she meets her little cousins, she's actually their aunt. And those kids are going to think that what she eats is gross. She eats the little dried fish, you know, body, head, tail, everything. Loves them. She eats sushi, sashimi, all kinds of stuff that, you know, like pig ear, pork intestine, whatever, you know, normal food for us. But she's experimenting now with hot sauce, and she likes it. But she can't take it if it's too, you know, too hot. But she likes the flavor. So what I'm finding for her now is milder forms of these peppers that have a really nice pepper taste, and it helps if you salt them. You know, it brings out more of the flavor, but less heat. And so that's, you know, yeah, there you go. See, Now, what kind of hot sauce? When I was in the States, used to be, you know, Tabasco. What's the other one? Texas Pete or something. And I always found those now, I mean, compared to what I've been eating in Asia and the different countries, this is a very kind of a narrow thing. They're more, I think, when I taste Tabasco, of course it is a specific kind of pepper, I know that, but I taste more vinegar and salt than I do pepper, you know, and so I told you guys about that hot oil that I made, and that was totally different than anything else I've ever had, and I really like that. But yeah, be interested to know what kind of sauces. It's amazing how YouTube can influence those kids, which again makes us want to be cautious. But there are some kids that do crafts and things on YouTube that makes Phoenix want to do those too. And if one of the kids said, "I'm going to take a spoon of hot sauce," and she probably would. Well, that's good though. You know, it's a good thing to start out, because I'm so desensitized that often Phoenix will say, "How did, you know, so I'll have some food. How is it, Papa?" It's great. Is it spicy? No. Can I try some? Of course. And she'll try some and she'll go, oh, my mouth's burning. It's so hot. I go, really? I can't tell. So yeah, it's all, you know, in the eye of the beholder, if you will. But the thing is, if he's getting used to, you know, that spicy flavor, you know, the pepper flavor, and it'll only be a matter of time before he, you know. Now, I'm not going to tell you I can win any contests, but I can eat some hot food, some hot stuff. We were at a restaurant a couple years ago with some of my wife's old friends, and they had some of those Szechuan kind of dried peppers. You know, they're round and they get all shriveled up like a raisin. Now I'm sitting there, and they're talking Chinese, and they're talking about old times, and I don't know anything about it. I'm going back and forth. I'm going, And, I mean, I can understand what they're saying, but this is like before I met my wife, and I found it interesting and all that. But I was just kind of bored, so what I did was I started eating these dried peppers. And I mean, I wasn't thinking about it or anything. You kind of avoid them, you know, like if you get like in Taiwan and China, we have, you know, Kung Pao, right? Gong Pao, right? And that's where it came from. So you can get like Gong Pao Ji, you can get Kung Pao chicken, pork, seafood, those things, you know. And so that's what it was, right? Because I like it. And so I got this Kung Pao, and it was in a Szechuan restaurant, and so the flavor was kind of the ma la that we talked about before, which isn't really a hot spice, it's a cold spice, it's a numbing spice. But they had all these dried peppers, and usually the peppers are cooked and they're sliced, so they're little rings of pepper, kind of like, not too unlike sort of calamari, if you will, like. But these were whole dried peppers, and I've been sitting there, I'd finished, you know, I ate all the peanuts out of it one by one. I ate the chicken, ate all the peanuts out of it one by one. And I'm just watching their conversation, and I got nothing else better to do. So I just started eating the peppers, popping in my mouth and eating them. I'm chewing them. I'm like, wow, this is pretty hot. But man, the flavor is like, wow. About 10 minutes go by, and I pop another one in my mouth, and I'm just, you know, minding my own business. And then all of a sudden, somebody noticed that I'm eating those peppers. And they're like, and they said in English, you're eating those peppers? I go, yeah. Well, don't you know what kind of pepper that is? I go, no. I mean, it's just some kind of mala pepper. I said, no, we call that the ghost pepper. I go, this can't be a ghost pepper. Because I see guys on YouTube eating ghost peppers, and they go and they run and they get a fire extinguisher or something and put it in their mouth. Ghost pepper, you know, this can't be a ghost pepper. Like, yeah, it's a ghost pepper. I go, there must be something wrong with me, because I mean, it's hot, but I like it. But I don't feel like, you know, like I didn't run for the ice water or want to go to the fridge and get some milk. So I don't know. Maybe it's time that I do a YouTube challenge. What do you say? But I don't even know if I could find like a Carolina Reaper. I've never had one of those. But what I did do, my brother lives in St. Pete. And down by the pier, actually in the new pier in St. Petersburg, Florida, they had a hot sauce shop. And they must have had I'm not joking. They must have had 700 or 8 or who knows, 1,000 different kinds of these little bottles of hot sauce from all over the world, right? So how do you pick one? Well, they kind of had them, you know, in sections. And I just, I picked one that they said was like really, really hot. And I went back to my brother's house and I said, "You got a spoon?" He goes, "Yeah." Okay. And I took the spoon and I went like this. He goes, "What, are you crazy?" I go, "Well, I have this feeling this isn't all that hot." No. He says, "Wow, how hot is it?" I said, "I like ketchup. It's a great flavor." And that's happened to me so many times. I went to another place where I found some hot pepper from Belize. What do they call it? Insane, I think, or something like that. And it's starting to rain. Cool. Might get caught out in the rain. Called it insane hot or something? I forget. I just remember that I just, you know, I put my finger over the top of it and I went like this and I went. Did the spoon thing. I said, if this is insane, either those people are insane or there's something seriously wrong with me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me because I have a pretty good sense of taste. But yeah, it just depends. I don't know. But over in the other side of the highway, those Thai people have some of those little green peppers, and I think those are hot. But I eat them. They give me Thai style sausages, and they'll put slices of cabbage and green onion, you know, scallion, and they'll put like those little green peppers cut up, and I always put a piece of green peppers and the sausage and stuff in the you know, the cabbage and eat it. And I think those things are really hot, but I can always manage to eat several of them, and it's not a big problem, and I don't have stomach problems later. So, but yeah, hot peppers, man, that's something I could talk about for a long time. And I did tell you guys, I'm not going to do it now, I'm not going to repeat it, but I did tell you guys about the hottest soup I've ever had in Udon Thani in Konkan province in Thailand with my friend Mr. Banchob, who's a lawyer. And it was the most amazing flavor I've ever had. I've been on the air for an hour and 19 minutes, and we are experiencing beginnings of downpour. Really? Oh boy. Wow. It's funny how you got to say that C word. The C word used to mean something else, terrible. It's too bad you guys have to couch what you're talking about. But this site is still online. It's not heavily used, and I don't know why. I think people might be reluctant, but that is a non-censorship platform for you to tell your story. I'd like to hear more about that, and you can call it what it is. You don't have to use the C word, but wow. I've never lost my taste of sense or smell, except one time when I accidentally inhaled a chemical, and I was kind of worried about it because it inhibited my sense of smell for many hours. But fortunately, it came back all right. But wow, super hot sauces. But what you were doing was you didn't realize it. You were actually pickling your tongue. but you didn't know about it. But I gotta tell you, I think, I mean, in wilderness craft, in bushcraft, wow, you can imagine that. The problem with that is your sense of smell protects you from eating rancid food. You know, you open a container, it's in the icebox. Oh, I forgot about this. Is this still good? You can tell, yes or no. If you've got the C word, it looks okay. You can end up with botulism or something. That's bad. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to process what you said. Wow. Well, use an alias, please. And we would all like to read about it. Wasn't excited. Yeah, I guess not. But what a way to lose weight. But you know, with bushcraft, right? Cayenne pepper is a medicine. And if you get if you're in the forest and you're, cutting wood or something for a steak, like a tent stake or something, or anything, you're just doing some kind of bushcraft, and you cut yourself or you get some kind of a cut, put cayenne pepper in the wound. And another thing that you can do to protect it is put honey on it, because honey does not go rancid. Honey doesn't support bacterial growth. So a lot of guys that I knew would literally put cayenne pepper, and they'd cut their hand or something, and literally just sprinkle cayenne pepper powder in it. Take some honey, smear it on there, and cover it with something. And I gotta tell you, I mean, there's a lot of things like that. Like, I used to date this girl. I'm going back to my 20s. And she had an alcoholic uncle. And he came to visit. And, I mean, he was a typical alcoholic, that he wasn't, falling down drunk. But he would start to drink at 9 o'clock in the morning, and he would drink until, nighttime. We went to sleep. He'd drink all day. He'd drink hard liquor, and 3 or 4 big bottles, and a lot. But I remember he stayed for a couple of weeks, and everybody got sick with the flu except for him. And we were like, why do you think you didn't get sick? He said, well, I never get sick because I stay pickled all the time. So the guy has a blood alcohol level that apparently killed the flu. I don't know. But things like hot spices, and cayenne pepper, and I mean, these have medicinal values. Like in the old days, especially in the South, if you wanted to worm a dog, you cut up an onion, cut up a pepper, mix it in his food. And, the hot spices would go through the dog's bowel, and you look at the stools and you see the worms and stuff in the stool, they're coming out. It's an old-fashioned way of doing that. That's one of the reasons that some of those parasites that are common, in the animal kingdom don't affect humans the same way because of our spicy diet. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to get banned because somebody's going to say that I'm telling people that eating hot pepper can help them avoid the C word. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that I think sometimes those things can make you strong. That's what I think. And I do have a story about that. I was in my 20s, lived in North Carolina, playing on the road, but during the week, living in a house full of Taiwanese guys, actually Chinese guys, born in China, escaped to Taiwan, working in a restaurant. They'd sit around in the evening and tell stories. And my friend, Mr. Chen, who I haven't seen since the year 2002, he told me that in China there's a village in Sichuan, which we call Sichuan, known for hot peppers. And there's not much to eat. This village, this region is very poor, not much grows. And because, you know, hot peppers will grow where almost nothing else will grow. All they really have to eat is rice and hot peppers. And he said the people are small. They don't have a lot of nutrition, so they don't get really big. But he told me a story because he was not the first officer, but the second officer on a Taiwan merchant marine ship. And he was sailing all around the world. And so what happens when you get a bunch of guys on a boat, Taiwanese guys, in the middle of the ocean? At nighttime, they have a few drinks. What are they going to do? They're going to have boxing matches. That's what they're going to do. So they had a boxing ring set up on the deck, and they had, you know, their champion, and he would pound the crap out of everybody else. And then somebody realized that they had a guy on board that was from this village, and it's a legend. Just like, you know, like watching the TV show Kung Fu back in the 70s, you know, with David Carradine. There's a lot of legend, right? And so, and this is my friend, Mr. Chen, telling me this. He was there. He saw it. He said that they were egging this guy on to get in the ring with, you know, the ship champion. He's like, no, I don't know how to fight. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do anything. Now, the legend was that because these guys eat so much of this hot pepper that it makes their bodies really hard, and it makes their qi gong, you know, really, really strong. And that if one of these guys is actually trained in the martial arts, it's hard to beat him because not much can hurt him. And plus, they're smaller, which gives them an advantage of speed. You know, they don't have as much bulk, and they can cut in on you. And plus, if they're, quite frankly, if you're fighting somebody that's not as tall as you, you have to go down to their level. You know, and it can be a disadvantage. It can be a disadvantage for you and an advantage for that person. He said that the ship's crew basically picked this guy up and threw him in the ring. And the ship's champion came over to him and started to harass him. And Chen told me, he says, I don't know what happened, but the guy put his hands on him, and all of a sudden the ship's champion was on his back, and he was out cold, and nobody saw him get hit. And he didn't have like a mark on his face or anything where he got hit. And I said, well, what do you think happened? He says, I think that guy just used the hot pepper qi gong kung fu and just went poof, and that was the end of that. I was like, I gotta get me some of them peppers, man. So there you go. Just one of the many bizarre and strange stories that I heard in my youth by somebody who was there and actually believed it. But who knows? Alcohol was definitely involved. And when alcohol is involved, you definitely can't trust things. you know, alcohol is just, oh. You know what always got me was, in the States they got all these warnings, you know, don't operate machinery, don't do this and don't do that. And the thing that always got me was about pregnant women, right? And it used to say, you know, alcohol is dangerous for pregnant women, you know what I mean? And I used to think, if it wasn't for alcohol, most of them wouldn't be that way. They should give them the warning before. It shouldn't say it's dangerous if you're pregnant. It should say it's dangerous if you don't want to get pregnant. That's what it should say. Warning, you may wake up pregnant after drinking this product. That's what it should say. Maybe even the second or third day later, you might wake up. Yeah, imagine if product labeling was left up to me. Wow, what would that say? What would that be like? So I'll never forget, man, I went to Florida on a Sunday. And they had this thing about, it's a pious attempt to be religious. They have a blue law. You can't buy alcohol on Sunday, right? I don't know if they'd still do this. I said, this is O'Doul's, man. And he goes, but it has alcohol in it. And I looked at it. I said, yes. And it says it may have 0.1% alcohol in it. It's not taxed as an alcoholic beverage. It's sold as a non-alcoholic beverage. I'm sorry I can't sell it to you. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. This guy's like... So I went over to the drug section and I got a bottle of NyQuil. And I put the NyQuil down on the conveyor at the cash register. And I said to the guy, I says, can I buy this? He goes, well, yeah, that's medicine. I said, good, because you're not selling me the O'Doul's. So I'm going to drink this instead. He looked at me and says, like, that's nuts, you're crazy. And I looked at the back and I said, ingredients, alcohol, 25%. Well, the first rule of medicine is to make the patient comfortable. So I can't buy O'Doul's beer, you know, that's not alcoholic, non-alcoholic beer, but I can buy NyQuil at 25%. I said, you know what will happen is, if I buy a case of this, we can have a party. Just insane stuff. Crazy stuff. All right, you guys, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been nice talking with you. Sorry I haven't been around. I did that little live stream on Wednesday, you know, from the Taiwanese restaurant, where I had that really nice food, but what happened to me was by that evening I started to get a headache, and then Thursday I had a headache, and I was lethargic and very fatigued the whole day. I assumed that was an antibody, you know, reaction to my first dose of the Medigen vaccine. So that's why I haven't been on. But I wanted to come on tonight, even though we had the typhoon. There was no damage, and everything's a little bit wet, but it's fine where I'm sitting, and I just wanted to bring my little lantern out here and have a nice little candlelight discussion, eat a few of these peanuts, drink a little rum, like old times. Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate you joining us. I want to thank everyone for joining, and Myrna, Ken, Dave, Matthew, and gosh, who was the first person that came in? Go-Go Song was George. Yes, how can I forget? Yes, and George was the first one in tonight. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining. Please join the pandemic community if you have a story that you'd like to tell. And it's not the COVID community, because there are more pandemics coming, not just COVID, and there are actually some that are currently going on, like the African swine flu and several versions of avian flu. And also please join us on livestreaming.technology, and later on I will go ahead and put the links to those webcams that I mentioned earlier. So you guys take care. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Fist bump to you guys. And I used to do this a long time ago on Periscope. It's just a big finger on the sidecar camera. You guys take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. I love